Section 8.2, the student's t-distribution. In our last video, we constructed confidence intervals based on the assumption that the population standard deviation, or sigma, was known, but rarely does that occur in the real world. As a result, two facts are crucial: the distribution of the population and the size of the sample. So if the population is not normally distributed and the sample size is small, which means less than 30, then we need some advanced techniques that are beyond the scope of this course. However, if either the population is normally distributed or the sample size is sufficiently large, then we can use another distribution called the student's t-distribution. And we can use that to calculate the margin of error for a population mean when the population standard deviation sigma is unknown. The student's t-distribution is very similar to the normal model. It has the same bell shape and it's still centered at 0. But it's different from the normal model in that the tails are fatter. So imagine taking your hand and kind of squishing the top mode of the normal model down so it doesn't go quite as high, which leaves more area in the tails. And it also has one parameter, the number of degrees of freedom, which for a single sample is n minus 1, instead of two parameters, which is the mean and the standard deviation. Just as there are an infinite number of normal curves, there are infinitely many t-distribution curves, one for each number of degrees of freedom. So a t-distribution with fewer degrees of freedom has more area under the tails of the curve, and as the number of degrees of freedom increase, the t-distribution approaches the standard normal curve. So as before, when we were dealing with the normal distribution, we were able to standardize that to the standard normal curve, but that is not possible with a t-distribution. Now, we can use tables to look up a critical t-value, but in this case, we're going to use Excel because it's much easier. Just as we used norm inverse or norm S inverse for the normal model, we're going to use T inverse for the student's T model. Now, there's one very major difference between the normal model and the T model when working with Excel. Typically, when we use norm inverse or norm S inverse, the input for area is the area to the left, but for a T model, the area is always to the right. So if they give us the input for area, that's just going to be T inverse area degrees of freedom. But if we want the area to the right, we're going to take 1 minus the area and then the degrees of freedom. Area in the tails, this one's awesome. We have T inverse 2 tail, so we don't have to worry about which way do we subtract. We just 2 tail it. And that's the input for area and the degrees of freedom. And then the area between, again, we're going to take 1 minus the area to find the area in between. In our next video, we're going to be working on finding the confidence interval as we did in section 8.1. But before we can find a confidence interval, we need to understand the critical value. So really the rest of this video is practice on making sure we have the correct critical value. So in this case, we are given that we want to find t of 0.025. That notation means that there's 0.025 to the right. So that's going to be my given area, but it also tells me that my output is going to be the area to the right. Now, in this case, we're given degrees of freedom, so we don't have to calculate anything. So 25.025, that gives me my solution of 2.0595. And again, that is the critical value that I would use for the confidence interval. Let's try another, and feel free to pause and try this one on your own first. Here we're to find the critical t value for a t-distribution with 17 degrees of freedom, and the area to the right, the area under the curve to the right of t is 0.1. So again, they're telling me that it's to the right, and so that tells me that my value is 1.3334. That's the critical value I would use in constructing a confidence interval. Example 3, find the value of t for a t-distribution with 11 degrees of freedom such that the area under the curve to the left of t is 0.05. So again, we're going to enter 11 and 0.05, and we're told that's the area to the left. And this should make perfect sense that this value is negative because, again, it's to the left of 0, so it should be a negative critical value. In this case, we're to find the value of t for a t-distribution with 7 degrees of freedom such that the area under the curve contained in the two tails is 0.02. Again, this might be difficult if we didn't already set up our spreadsheet, but here our degrees of freedom is 7 and 0.02 is the area in the tails. And because we're told that it's the area in the tails, then we know that the critical value is 2.9980. And again, that would be the critical value on the right. The one on the left would be negative 2.9980 because they are the same. And again, what's the calculation there? We're going to take t inverse 2 tail of the given area. So it does that for us, and comma the degrees of freedom. Try this example on your own. Find the critical value of t for a t-distribution with 29 degrees of freedom such that the area between negative t and positive t is 99%. So again, we are given the degrees of freedom. We are given 0.99, and we are given that that's the area between. So that tells me that the critical value on the right is 2.7564, and on the left is negative 2.7564. For our final example, we're to find the critical t-value for a 95% confidence interval using a t-distribution with 24 degrees of freedom. So again, the degrees of freedom is given. In this case, the area is 0.95, so 95, and again, this is a 95% interval. So what does that tell us? That tells me that we're using the area in between is 0.95. So the critical value that I'm going to use is 2.0639. Again, the negative t would be negative 2.0639, but when we're doing a confidence interval, we're always going to use that positive value so that it doesn't mess up the order of our interval. And this is the most important example because, of course, in the next video, that's what we're going to do is just find confidence intervals. So we're going to be using this calculation quite often.